Hope you're all doing well. It's Friday, that time of the day again. I know I've not been live for a couple of weeks. It was Navratri and it was so many things happening. So I couldn't come on live for the past couple of weeks. So I decided to start my live again this week. Hoping all of you are doing well with so many uncertainties around. I know it started raining for us here suddenly, and it's so nice. I mean, first rain is always beautiful. I was enjoying that rain right now. So, today's topic is going to be about memory. We were going to talk about memory today. And how can we improve memory using Ayurvedic techniques? That's the topic for today. But if you have any other questions, as usual, you're always welcome to ask me, and I will try to answer the questions. But let us jump into today's topic about memory. Memory loss is definitely a disaster. A lot of times. I mean, sometimes it's actually good to forget few things. Memory loss is sometimes a blessing. But sometimes it comes out as it's like a disaster. So many things that we're supposed to do, we're bombarded with so many things, and then suddenly we forget. Suddenly we see someone, and it's like we know the person, but then we forget the name and we cannot talk. So it turns out to be awkward sometimes as well. Not only for adults. I mean, that's how we have to deal with it as adults, but with kids it comes out as a problem when they have to memorize a lot of things as well. So let's talk about the different components that are involved in memory. At least according to Ayurveda, these are all the different components that are mentioned. So the first one that's mentioned is called dhi. Dhi really means recording a definitive knowledge. You know that I am present here and I'm speaking. So that is like a definitive knowledge. It is for sure. You understand it. It is the truth. So you record that information, whatever I'm speaking with right now, and that becomes as knowledge for you. And that is a recording faculty. That recording faculty, there must be something present inside the brain. You know, they call the white matter, the gray matter. It's essentially the kapha element that is present in the body, that's present in the brain. It's the myelin sheath, or that mucosal content that is present, that is able to record that information and save it, right? So that's the first one, dhi. The second one is dhriti. Right, we know this information, but how are we going to use this information? Do we have that sattva? Do we have the ability to use this information that we have on hand appropriately? For example, we all know that, I mean, it's on the the cigarette packet, it's written smoking is injurious to health. But we smokers still smoke cigarettes knowing that it is injurious to health. So how are we using that information? Are we really using that information for our growth? That is the dhriti, that's the dharana shakti. Do we have that ability to use it properly? The third faculty that's involved with memory is the smriti, recalling it. Yes, you know the information, you have lots of information, you gathered lots of information, but are you able to recall it at the right time and use it at the right time? That is the smriti faculty, that's a recalling ability. So dhi, recording, dhriti, retaining, smriti, that is recalling. So these are the three faculties that are involved with memory. If there is a problem with either one of these, then there is a problem. So let's talk about different things that we have to do. I'll talk about both causes and what is it that we need to do to overcome this problem, right? So the first thing that I always talk about is good food is good everything. Why do we need good food for good memory? Because we spoke about there is a recording faculty. And for recording, and for that mucosal layer to be strong enough, we need to provide good type of fats. If there is no good amount of fats, then that mucosal layer is not going to be strong. And if it is not strong, then of course you're not able to retain that information. You're not able to record that information. You're just listening to me right now. You first need to, you're understanding it, and then you need to retain it. For that, you require good food. Good food for memory is going to be food like ghee and milk, because you need that good fat soluble food for it to cross the blood-brain barrier. It has to cross it and be able to nourish there. Anything that's water soluble is not able to cross and nourish. So you need something like ghee or milk or almonds. Those are all the good things that can go and that can nourish that area so that you're able to record the information that you're receiving. And then the other thing is fire, Agni. That's very, very important. Everything is tainted, you know. Our space is tainted because there is an ozone layer that's you know, there is a hole in the ozone layer. And then airborne diseases are there in air. And then there is water pollution, there's earth pollution, there's a lot of pesticides. But fire is the only thing that is not tainted by itself. And that is why it is able to, if it is able to blaze up sharp, you're able to understand. Right now I'm speaking to you and you're trying to get that information and you're trying to digest that information. And that digestion is happening because of the fire that you have inside you. And that fire must be, you know, it has to be blazing, it has to be hot, it has to be good enough. It should not be surrounded by anything. If it is surrounded by anything, if it is being covered up by, you know, the fatty foods that we eat, the fried foods that we eat, or the heavy foods that we eat, or the sticky foods that we eat, or the cold foods that we eat, if these are causing a cover, if they are causing a layer around the fire, it's called a sadhaka pitta. There is that type of fire that's present inside the brain that is able to understand the information. It is able to process it and then make it into our own intellect. If that is covered by any other covering, then you're not able to understand. The information will not pass through. It's like that brain fog, you know, you say that there's a brain fog. So we need to make sure that good food is present. And I spoke extensively about what is good food. And I don't want to bore you talking about that again, but definitely if you have questions, you can go ahead and ask me. That's one thing. The second thing is sleep is directly related to having good memory. If you're not sleeping well, you're not resting well, you're continuously in action. If there is continuous action, then there is no pause for you to break and really understand. Okay, stop and think. What is it that you are trying to understand? That is lost. Again, that brain fog is always there if there is not enough good sleep. So it's important to have that good sleep. Again, this is pertinent for both adults and kids as well, right? The third important thing is to do some brain exercises. This is the most important thing. You know, doing some kind of puzzles like Sudoku, or doing chess, or any kind of games that you can play, so that you are doing some exercise for your brain. You know, for the I'm not clear. Sorry. Is this voice okay now? Can you let me know? I thought I was audible. I am close to the speaker right now. Is this clear now? Can you tell me if it's clear now, Parvati? So the brain exercises I was going to talk about are, you must, for the muscles to be active, if your muscles must get that exercise, and if your muscles must be active, you do exercise for your muscle and make sure that it works properly. The same thing holds true for your brain, and you have to do that exercise. And what are those exercises, right? Better, but it can still be more better. It's not I don't know, not a what else to do. I'm closer to the speaker. I'm closer to the speaker. I don't know what else to do. Any of you know what else I need to do on a Mac to improve my voice? Now it's better. Okay, good. I'm going to come closer to the speaker. Hopefully that will be better. I'm not a techie person to do anything at all. If it's better, then I will continue. If not, stop me and let me know. So one thing I was going to talk about is how much ever we train the brain. It's not the loudest, okay, as it should be. Okay. All right, Supriya can hear me well. Okay, so I'll continue then. I was going to share the experience that I had training my own son. My own son, I was training him for Bhagavad Gita Avadhanam, which means he would have to memorize 720 shlokas. Now he's learning something in a language that he is not familiar with. Sanskrit is something that he is not familiar with at all. And he only knows English, and that's the only thing he knows. But he was able to memorize 720 shlokas in 4 months time span. It is only with repetition. We did a lot of exercise of repetition again and again and again. And it just was recording in his brain all the time. So that kind of exercise is needed. And because he has that kind of attention, right? For me, if I were to do it, I would be multitasking, and my brain would not be on it, even though it's being repeated. Even though I'm repeating it, my brain would not be on it. But for him, his brain was completely on it. He was just doing that one task. So it was easy for him to do that brain exercise again and again and again. And that actually he was able to memorize all of them, 700 shlokas. And not only just memorizing, he was able to recall, whichever shloka you ask a number and he would be able to say. So that amount, and not just him, I'm not just saying just for him, it is possible for anybody. That's what I'm trying to say. If he is able to do it, anybody can do it. It's just that repetition that's required. And again, we have to find out which sense organ works the best. For some of us, hearing is better. We have that audible memory. We listen to it again and again, and then we get it. Some of us have that visual memory. We look at things and we understand. So we have to make sure we make a plan and implement it accordingly. So that brain exercise, if not, our brain gets rusty. How much ever we use it, that much ever we're improving its capacity. So that one thing we have to remember. And even as adults, when we're growing, we shouldn't think that it's not necessary for us. Even till date, I have to study something every day. So study something every day, retain, try to understand something or the other every day, so that you're using your brain. That is an exercise that you're doing. Not the mundane things that we do every day, not the office work that you have to do every day, but something new. If not, do some puzzles so that you are activating your brain, right? That's one thing I wanted to talk about. And again, don't curse yourself or blame yourself saying that, I'm like this all the time. I just don't remember things. Whatever you think about, that affirmation sometimes unfortunately becomes a reality. So instead, think that it is possible. It is definitely possible. And write down what is it that you would want to achieve, and make a list of things that you would have to do. and having a discipline that once you decide this is it that you have to do, making sure that you follow that discipline, right? Because whatever you want to do, I mean, I want to go back to that example of memorizing 700 shlokas. If you have to do that 700 shlokas, it will not come overnight. It is that persistent effort that needs to be there without failing. If that persistent effort is there, then it will add up and you will be able to do it one day. Yeah. Again, multitasking is one thing I wanted to talk about. That is one thing I want to confess that I do a lot. But doing that multitasking, we are used to, driving the car. Now that we're not so much in the car, but cooking, we have to speak with someone, we have to hear to someone while we're cooking. Doing multiple things at once, our senses are not completely on one thing. So it's important that we train ourselves to do only one thing at a time so that our senses can actually understand one thing at a time and retain that one thing. If not, I mean, I always wonder how my mom is able to remember so many things, and she is always does one thing at once, never multitasking, but she's still able to do things quick. So then I understood, oh, okay, so doing multiple things at once, you're doing only halfway and not getting things completely done. If you actually do one thing at once, finish it off, and then get to the next thing, you are actually doing 100% job on one thing and making sure that you're not overwhelmed yourself also. So that's another thing that I would want to do. And definitely one thing that Ayurveda says to do is to put abhyanga on your putting hair oil on your head, massaging it in this area. And there's a beautiful technique called Shirodhara. This really it balances the left brain and right brain and brings concentration so much that you will be in restful alertness when Shirodhara is happening. You'll be really knowing what all is happening around you, but you're completely rested. So Shirodhara is really, dhara means pouring, Shiro means head, pouring oil on your head. It will be continuously pouring oil on your forehead for about 20 minutes to about 40 minutes. That will completely calm you down, because we're continuously doing things and there's thought process, thinking that happens all the time. So this really calms you down. And it's not necessary that you have to go to a center and get that done, but if that has that many benefits, the same benefits, we can do it at home by applying good amount of oil for ourselves and for our kids also. Applying to the scalp, making sure that it goes all the way to the scalp, or even parting it out and taking a small piece of cotton, applying oil in that and leaving it on the top. That takes away a lot of heat that is exposed. We're exposed to so much gadgets. I mean, it's not possible for us not to be with gadgets all the time. Our eyes and our head, everything is exposed to so much heat all the time. It takes in a lot of heat. So applying this oil here, or even there are some medicated ghees that you can apply on top of the head, called Mahakalyanaka Ghrita, is something that is very, very good. Ghee is actually, it has cold potency compared to oil. Oil has hot potency. So you can use that and you can apply it on your head, and that removes all the heat that we are being exposed to. So that's a super important thing that I would use if you want to improve your memory. Another thing is nasya, because applying oil into your nose is the doorway to head. So if you want to clean up your brain, if you want to reach to the parts of your brain, then nose is the doorway. You can apply again the same oil that I was talking about, or the ghee. You can apply just plain ghee, you can apply, or Mahakalyanaka Ghrita that I was talking about can be given via nostrils also. All you do is you just tilt your head backwards, apply oil into 2 drops or 3 drops into one nostril, breathe in, and then you're going to just close this nostril and do it to the other nostril. You breathe in. So that way you're able to bring that snigdhata, which is that oily nature, to your brain again. So that's one more important thing that Ayurveda has spoke about. Other good things, I mean, these are some things that you would want to talk to someone and make sure that your Agni is good, your digestion is good, and take it or give it to the kids. There are these lehyas, like Kushmanda Rasayana or Brahma Rasayana. Brahma or Saraswati. Saraswati is actually the goddess of wisdom, goddess of knowledge, and that's why there are names that are given after her: Saraswat Churna or Saraswat Arishta or Brahma Rasayana. So these are some things that are in Ayurveda that are given according to what is happening. So if the brain fog is happening because of a lot of excessive food that is covering your digestive fire, or that's covering your fire that is able to absorb things, then we have to give something like fermented drinks, fermented products, so that it can pierce that layer out and make sure that your fire is again burning sharp. But if the problem is that there is not enough mucosal layer, and the mucosal layer is not able to retain the information that is being given, then we have to give good mucosal layer, which means we have to give good quality ghees internally. You can actually take internal ghees, or you can take internal lehyas, depending upon what is happening. So that's definitely possible. And then good physical activity is very, very important. As long as your body is fit, if you're moving your body very, very fast, then it is possible that your brain also acts very fast. So make sure that you have good exercise. You have good exercise, and if it's for kids, kids also must have good exercise so that their brain acts. Right now, it's we cannot do anything about it, but they have to be on in front of the computer all the time. But taking them away from computer for some time and doing some physical activity along with them will ensure that their brain will be able to process a little more better, a little more sharp than it already is. It is just taming. Taming is the only thing that we need to do. And doing it again and again and again is the only key. Doing that brain exercises again and again. And you can support it with these other herbs. You can, I would not recommend doing self-medication for yourself. I would recommend that you talk to someone that you think is beneficial and then take it. But if not, giving just good quality fats is good enough, and applying oil on the head is good enough. Supriya, I'll come to that question for sure. And then one important thing that you can introduce to your kids and for yourself, a good exercise for your brain, is meditation. That is one thing. Again, restful alertness is going to come in meditation. The same thing that you experience when you get a treatment called Shirodhara, which is restful alertness. You will get the same with meditation as well. When you meditate, you are still alert. You still know what's happening around, but you're rested. So that kind of rest is given to you, which means you're taken away from all of that, so all of the chatter that happens in the mind all the time, and it just quietens. And when it quietens, you're able to absorb that information better, right? Because that's what it is, information. How do you retain information? It is always first has to be, you have to hear it properly. Shravana has to be there properly. most of the time, how do we hear? Whenever we're in meetings or whenever we're in a discussion, whenever we are hearing to someone, our hearing is like, oh, I already know this. I don't need to listen to this. Or, okay, what else? So that kind of hearing, or what is it I have to say next? That is the kind of hearing that we normally do. That's the Shravana that we normally do. But the Shravana has to be in such a way that we are actually, okay, what is this person trying to say? Let me actually understand. Giving my 100%. It's okay, I'm going to put away all my, whatever I know, I'm going to just put it aside and just give my full attention to this person and really listen. Then after I listen, I'm going to understand it. I'm going to think about it. How can I apply it for my own self? Let me think, what is this concept? And then it becomes my own knowledge, my own intellect. The nididhyasana will happen. So this is really how we need to take an information. And if we do that, it's and whatever we put our our intention on, our attention on, that's what will grow. Because when I 20 years ago, when I would watch a movie, I would have my full attention on the movie and I would not forget a single dialogue out of that movie. I would remember everything out of it because I was watching it attentively. My focus was there 100%. But now that's not there. That's not my complete attention. I do something else while watching a movie. And I think it's a good thing that I can watch a movie again and again and again and I don't remember a thing. So again, but if I'm studying, I put my 100% attention on it so that I will retain that information. It's not how much you know, but how depth you have gone into that one concept that you're trying to learn, that one concept that you're trying to get. Yeah. So getting into it, getting deep into it will make sure that you get that concept and you will recollect that information again for sure. If you utilize it again and again, then that memory will stay with you. So I hope that was helpful for you. If there is any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I just wanted to give a quick information of what Ayurveda has spoken about memory, about how to improve the memory. Definitely good food we spoke about. Sleep is important. Applying, Abhyanga, I speak about applying oil all over the body for kids, and applying that kind of pichu that I spoke about on the head for kids, and doing the brain exercises is super important, super important. Doing that again, memorizing it again and again, whatever you're trying to do, that is very important. And using that different sense organs, whichever is working best for you, either hearing or vision, or touch. Sometimes you look at different things, you feel them, and then you understand it. Using that different sense organs is also very important, and doing one task at a time. One more important thing we forget to do is showing that we love and care the child, no matter what it is, so that their self-esteem grows. We don't put attention on the lack of the child. We always have to put attention on what the child can do. If we put, whatever we put attention on will definitely grow. If we put our attention on what the lack is, that will definitely grow and their self-esteem will go down. So it's important that we look at the bright side of the things and we show them the love and care and increase their self-esteem. That is also very, very important. That's the part of chikitsa also, actually. And we also spoke about good physical activity, different lehyas that Ayurveda has. Meditation is also another thing that we spoke about, and nasyam. And Supriya is asking what kind of oil for nose. You can actually apply sesame oil is okay, but For a memory purpose, if you're using it for memory purpose, if you're using an oil, I would actually recommend a ghee. Just a regular ghee is okay. Or something called Mahakalyanaka Ghritam is something that can be used, and you can apply 2 drops into each nostril. That is very, very good. Mahakalyanaka Ghritam it's a ghee. It's a form of ghee, because ghee has cold potency, and it will be very good when you apply it, and it goes into the brain, and it nourishes the brain, versus the hot potency that oil has. So this ghee is very, very important and very, very useful. Mahakalyanaka Ghritam. Kalyanaka is like, it's very, Kalyanam is like, it is auspicious. That's what it is. So it does all auspicious things. And it's the same thing that you can use for applying on your head as well. I usually do not like to, talk about herbs, because self-medication is not something I advocate so much, but this is fairly safer. It has to be room temperature. It has to be a little bit than room temperature. If it's a ghee, if you're using a ghee, make sure there are no granules. That's how it's supposed to be. And if it's the oil that you're using, a little bit than room temperature, not warm. You would not want to be very warm, but a little bit above room temperature. That's how it's supposed to be. And that's going to be very helpful. I hope that was helpful for you. Definitely another important thing that will affect the memory is the anti-epileptics, that a lot of anti-epileptics that are used, and even for ADD and ADHD, there are some suppressive medications that are given, like Ritalin, and all of those medications also adversely affect dementia. So taking a check on those is also very, very important. And the most important thing that we do that can cause memory loss is called Prajna Paradha, which means Prajna means superior knowledge, Pra is superior, Jna is knowledge. So any knowledge that we have must take us to the higher level. It must take us to Para, which is, it has to take us to the higher level. But instead of going to the higher level, we do the aparadha, we do the wrong things. So this Prajna Paradha that we do, doing things knowingly, is the biggest problem for memory kind of issues also. Because doing it again and again, doing the wrong things again and again, we think that this is the fact, because we know that we're supposed to sleep by 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m. But Friday night, I want to sleep late. I know it, but I want to sleep late. Then we kind of repeat it again and again. It becomes a reality for us later on, and we forget what the actual fact is. So that dhriti that I was talking about is very, very important. Knowing it is one thing, but do we have that sattva to hold on to that knowledge that we just learned? Do I have the sattva to implement the knowledge that I just learned in whatever conditions that I am in? Is also one more important thing that puts us into trouble. So make sure we don't do any Prajna Paradha, and we use the knowledge that we gained to get to the next level, not to the lower level. Where do we get that oil from? The one starting with M. So that's something that's available. I think Banyan Botanicals will have that. Banyan Botanicals, I'm going to type that here also. There's a online Ayurvedic store, or if not, I carry that here also. But Banyan Botanicals should carry that. You can order that online. Yeah. So that's about it for the memory. I don't want to bore you by talking so much, but if you have any specific questions, I just don't want to be like one-way talking. I'll be talking and I don't know how many of you are listening, and I don't know how much am I Am I really reaching you or not is also another thing. But if you have any questions that requires a discussion, I'd be happy to answer those questions also. Not just related to memory, but any other questions that you have in general about Ayurveda digestion kind of questions, or any other questions that you have. Because I get some other questions in direct messages, so I thought I'll come here and answer them for you guys. Let me just check. All right, so if that's it, then I'll see you all next week with another topic. I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And thank you so much for joining on this Friday evening. Alrighty, bye bye. Any meditation video link that you could share? Meditation. Supriya, the meditation for little kids or for youth, it's different if you're using it for yourself or if you're using it for little kids. If you're using it for yourself, I usually do Art of Living meditations. If you, I think it's on Facebook, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar. There are some meditation videos under his page. Those are some things that I can look it up and send it to you if it's for yourself. If it's for the child, you would have to wait until they're at least 8 years old, adults. Okay, I will send those to you for sure. All right, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.